Hi, it's Virginia from The Heartographer, and I'm here today to talk to you about Apple Watch dating apps. Now, as you might know, the watch is still pretty new. Lots of people don't even have their pre-orders yet, so it's not like you're going to encounter messages and online dating interactions with tons and tons of people that have Apple Watches. You're probably not even going to necessarily know it if you do. But if you have an Apple Watch, or if you want to understand why you got kind of a weird message on Tinder, I want to talk you through kind of the dating app ecosystem on Apple Watch and how it might affect you. It's an interesting thing. Like, this is a really new device, and it's clear that people are still kind of figuring out what to do, what to put on the watch, how it all works. But let's take a look. One of the most important aspects of the Apple Watch is notifications and controlling what notifications you do and don't get on a device that's attached to your wrist all the time. I know that notifications can be pretty subjective. Everybody has a different idea of what they want to be interrupted by, what they consider important, but I don't think you should turn on notifications for dating apps. Part of the reason is that I think it's a little bit crazy to allow them to interrupt your day-to-day life. Like, that can be really distracting and overwhelming, as I know from a lot of my clients who totally experience online dating overwhelm. Like, you don't need to be pinged that somebody matched with you on Tinder in the middle of like a work meeting, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like, even if you are the sort of person who would want that kind of notification, the current set of apps out there and the functionality that they have, those notifications aren't that meaningful yet. They're not that useful. They don't do that much for you, and they also expire, which you might not realize. I didn't realize it either for a little while. So I highly recommend turning them off, and I will show you how to do that in a minute. But let's take a look at the different kinds of notifications that we can get from different apps and kind of what the functionality is. As you probably know, there are notifications that you can respond to in some way on Apple Watch, and then others, like this one that just came in from OkCupid, where all you can do is dismiss it. I actually don't think that's such a bad thing because, frankly, you don't necessarily want to be doing a lot of organic communication on the Apple Watch. It's a device that's kind of better reserved for, really quick little mini things. And when you're making a first impression with someone brand new in the dating world, you don't necessarily want it to be on an awkward little wrist device. Let's take a look at how notifications work. When someone sends you a message from OkCupid, all you can do is dismiss it. And when someone likes you, all you can do is dismiss it. That's how most of these dating apps work. They don't tend to have notifications that allow you to like dictate a reply, etc. And I actually think that's for the best. However, there are a couple exceptions. And I think for the most part, you're better off not doing anything with that. Here's one. Somebody just winked at you on Match. All you can do is dismiss. I'm okay with that, I'm okay with that. But one thing I want to warn you about, these notifications will expire, even if you don't think they will. So if you try to like save that up as a queue of stuff to go through later when you have time, it's not a great idea because, frankly, they're going to disappear on you. It's not a reliable system for getting back to people. You need to develop your own systems. You know better than this. So while we're on the topic of notifications, I want to show you how you can shut those down or open them up with the Control app. And by the way, don't forget, you can totally change how the apps show up on your screen if you want Tinder to be right in the middle or something. So get down here to Notifications. And I like to have the little notification indicator. It's the thing where at the top of this screen, if I have any unread notifications, which I don't right now, there's a little red dot. I think it's kind of nice. It's a helpful little indicator. Notification privacy, I think you should not do that. I think it's really nice to have the full details on your watch, but you might want to turn on notification privacy if you're embarrassed by getting like dating related stuff. And developers may eventually change the functionality of dating app notifications so that like you see a little preview of the message or something. So if somebody on Tinder sent you something tawdry, maybe it's nice to have that not show up on your watch face, This may become more useful in a few weeks than it is now with the existing app ecosystem. Just something to know about. So scroll down in notifications. You can ignore all that stuff, and we're really looking at this section where it's got all the third-party apps and it says mirror iPhone alerts from. Now, there's not a lot of granularity. It basically like picks up on whatever your iOS notification settings are and mirrors them like it says. So if you want to get Coffee Meets Bagel notifications on your on your Apple Watch, turn this on. If you want to get them from eHarmony, turn this on. If you want to get them from Match and Lulu and all the dating things, you have this set to green. So that's all I wanted to show you. It is not nearly as robust as I would like it to be. For example, like it doesn't let you control when people message you, you get notified, but you don't get notified just about likes or matches or winks or whatever. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but it's still helpful to know that you have some power to control from here what shows up on here. So now that we've looked at notifications on the Apple Watch, I want to take a look at a couple of different specific dating apps. I want to look at OkCupid, Tinder, Match, and Coffee Meets Bagel. And just so you know, these apps are pretty early stage, right? Everybody rushed to have something in the Apple Watch App Store on day one or shortly thereafter in some cases. But some of the design decisions that they made are pretty weird. Some of the apps are very buggy, and they're all pretty slow, which is true of a lot of third-party apps right now. We got to give it time to see better app development on the Apple Watch, but for now, let's look at those four and kind of see what the app experience is like. If you'll join me in my little corner of love over here, we can start looking at the individual dating apps one at a time. OkCupid is interesting. Like I said, it can take a little while to pull in data and connect with your recent session in your iPhone, but I like that it leverages your geolocation. I'm in Ballard and it's showing me potential quick matches right here in Ballard, which is cooler functionality than their website's quick matches. Once you actually get into quick matching, it's actually a lot like Tinder. You swipe one direction for like and you swipe another direction for not like, which is funny because Tinder doesn't even have this functionality. However, it's super slow and awkward when you do your swiping. Sometimes you can't tell if it worked or not. You get that little loading screen a lot. And you see this, like you have to do the next interaction from your phone. It makes sense, but it's kind of funny. Like, why did you bother taking the time and loading up this screen if you're just going to send me somewhere else? I would sort of prefer that you automatically go to the next screen instead of making me manually interact if I can't do anything right then. But I get that this is still, you know, something that we're all kind of trying to figure out. In addition to this little quick match interface, which can be slow and confusing in the top, you can also, you can close it, and then you can scroll down and look at other potential matches. But I find this really like awkward, slow to load. You have to like manually click to see more. You know, it's sort of like reminds me of a website in the 90s. It's fine and all. I get it. It's a watch. You're not going to have the full functionality, but I don't find it to be as impressive. When you select people from this interface, you get a little bit of different options. You can see more about them and you can bookmark or like them, but that's all you can do. And this kind of craps me up. Like, look for OkCupid on your iPhone's lock screen. If you have lock screen notifications disabled like me, that's not even accurate, but whatever. It's nice that it gives you some basic functionality there, even if it's not super duper robust. And I also like that it does tell you if they like you back, even though, again, doesn't let you do anything about it. So there's OkCupid for you. Let's take a look now at Tinder. Tinder cracks me up. Tinder wasn't even in the Watch App Store on day one, and I sort of re-recorded this video because I made fun of them for not being there, and then like 2 days later, they added an app. Again, takes a while to pull in data, just like any third-party apps right now. And on Tinder, the only thing that it does is show you your messages. There's no interface whatsoever for stuff like swiping and saying yes or no to people, which cracks me up because that's sort of that's the functionality I expected on Tinder, and instead we get this. Well, let's take a look at how messaging works on Tinder. Here's Jake. He's being a sport and letting me mess with him about Apple Watch. And, you know, some other stuff. Hey, Jake. Hey, Jake. Hey, Jake. You can tell that the touch targets are a little like, huh, and sometimes I feel like it doesn't 100% reply to my touch, but that's okay. So this guy's asking me about my consulting rates, blah, blah, blah. If I want to send him a message, though, let's look at this interface. It cracks me up, you guys. It's just crazy. Okay, so we can do cancel, yes, no, okay, and then I can dictate. My most popular package is the one that's $349, period. Probably because it's the cheapest, comma, but it's actually what works best for most people too, period. Okay. Ooh. I lost my dictation. That's awkward. Okay, I'm going to try that again, and I want you to notice something. In this dictation interface, there's no way for me to back out of it. My most popular package is the cheap one, comma, haha, comma, $349. That's not exactly what I said, but she just sends it anyway. I have no opportunity to like correct that or go in while I'm like in dictation mode. When I click done, it just auto sends. That's embarrassing, man. Like what? Oh, and it's also kind of going a little crazy here. Like that is not how this is supposed to work. Like I do not know of any other app on Apple Watch where if your dictation contains errors, you can't back out and say, you know what, I don't want to send that after all. And Tinder is like the most important case where you don't want to look like an ass with something weird that the microphone didn't pick up right with your dictation. And yet, there it is. So I'm embarrassed by that. For comparison, let's take a look at a pretty good dictation implementation compared to Tinder's bad one. In the Messages app, if I want to reply to somebody, when I dictate, I basically get to do some QA. Okay, so I'm going to dictate something for you now, and then I'm going to be able to test it afterwards. You can see my dictation now. It's going to keep capturing my voice while I talk, but this is the only interface Tinder has, while the dictation capture is still active. Yes, you could cancel out right now during this phase. Yeah, Grant's going to get a pretty crazy message. Don't worry, he can take it. But when you hit done here, the beauty is that you're now presented with an interface that shows you what the audio clip would be if you want to just do that instead, and what the text is, which is terrific. Granted, of course, this is not like a typical, Magna Carta length message for Apple Watch, but you get the idea. Like you can look over a kind of cleaned up, finished version without the dictation capture still happening and decide, is this cool? Do I want to go ahead and send this? And if you hit it, it just goes ahead and sends. But you have the opportunity to cancel and try again. Let's try again with that whole dictation thing. This time around, if I'm happy with my message, then I can go, okay, I like it. Let's go ahead and text that. And it just goes off and sends it automatically. That's a much cleaner implementation than how Tinder does it, because it allows you that extra step of making sure you know how it looks and like you're not sort of doing your QA decision making while you're still in dictation mode. That's really awkward. It's like they completely skipped a step, which is different from every single other Apple Watch app I've seen that has dictation functionality built in like that. Tinder could stand to, take a few notes from the rest of the Apple Watch community. I'm going to see if I can show you this other notification thing that used to be present. Nice. This guy really is helping me test. He's awesome. Okay, so now with this one, the predictive stuff that it shows me are like these 3 emoji or a dictation option. Now these 3 emoji show up a lot in the predictive thing with Tinder, and that is embarrassing and boring because let me tell you, what Tinder does not need is more people sending formulaic messages that all sound the same. You know what I mean? Like I don't need 3 different guys sending me like a little thumbs up. In this case, it kind of works, right? But I don't love that. And of course, it's not easy to type and do text input on Apple Watch, so I understand why they didn't build in anything like that. But it does kind of bum me out that like you either get short, cryptic, lame, formulaic emoji or awkward dictation with no room for QA. I think you're more likely to make a better impression on Tinder if you stick to using your iPhone. Okay, next up, let's take a look at Match. Now, Match is a weird bird, okay? When it shipped on day 1 in the watch store, I was super impressed, but none of the touch targets worked except for Discover. I think that's still the case, so let's look at Discover together. I actually kind of like this one. If you click Discover, you can just do this like basic little quick match functionality where you're like, do you like the person? Yes or no. Listen, I like people all the time because I'm a dating coach and I don't really have like a normal use case. But basically, all you do is this, right? It doesn't have a whole lot of other options right now. And that's okay. That's kind of how I want it. But let's look and see if we can get at any of these other tiers. Nope. You can navigate either by scrolling or with the digital crown, but it doesn't change which bar is selected. And like force touch, like doing super hard, like nothing changes this. For a while, I thought it was actually tied to whether you had a paid account or not. So I tested with both paid and unpaid accounts. And no, Discover is the only tab that actually works on the Watch app, no matter what. So I don't know what the deal is. I can only assume that they are still working on this, but it's kind of embarrassing that like the biggest, most established dating site has the app that's the most like obviously bug-ridden and a work in progress. It's like they shipped like a real basic, interface wireframe prototype without any of the functionality built in. I don't really know what's going on there. IAC, get your act together. But anyway, don't even bother with a match app for now. It really doesn't do much for you. Next up, we can take a peek at Coffee Meets Bagel. This one's kind of interesting. It's got really rich functionality, but as with a lot of watch stuff, it's slow and kind of buggy and I can't really tell what's going on. And frankly, I find that to be the case with their iPhone thing too. And you get this, like not connected, please log into the iPhone app, a lot more than you get with other apps. Like I have that experience with OkCupid sometimes, with Tinder sometimes, with Match sometimes, but I have it with Coffee Meets Bagel. I would say 80% of the time I launch the watch app. So all right, I'm launching it on my iPhone. I'm getting in there. I'm making you connect. Figure it out. There we go. All right, so now I got a bagel. Hey, cute bagel. All right, let's take a look at this guy. Totally my type. Looks like a geek. What are you going to do? I can see some pictures about him. And then if I want to, I forget how, but if I want to there's a way to scroll and decide whether I want to bagel with him or whatever they call it or not. But it's kind of, there we go. I just scroll down this way. I got to scroll through his whole profile. They don't let me be super chill about it. They make you open the iPhone app to see more info. And then you just get to check do you want to, do the bagel match thingy with this guy or not? I'll say yes. And then it just says liked and we're done. I'm okay with that. And I will tell you that if someone matches with you on this, if they like you back, then there is actually an ability for you to message with each other. But much like Tinder, it's a super awkward interface where you have to dictate and you can't really tell if the app has sent your message or not. And it's hard to tell if there's errors in it or not. I recommend doing your Coffee Meets Bagel messaging on the web interface or on the iPhone app like most people do. It's not a great thing to do on Watch. But I do kind of like that you actually get more robust profile views here. Still not complete, but actually more than what you get to see on Match or Tinder, and that's kind of cool, or OkCupid. So anyway, there you have it. Those are the 4 main apps that are out there right now, and I'll keep an eye on see what else joins the App Store for now. So now you've seen a whole bunch of different stuff about Apple Watch. Hopefully I have convinced you not to install most of these dating apps or to tread lightly and to use other devices with more robust functionality for a lot of the important communication type interactions in dating apps. Either way, I think this is a really interesting new use and I'm excited to see how dating apps better leverage this new technology as it gets more widely adopted. For now, have fun with your watch and happy dating!